It is time again for new rhythms on the homestead, and fall is my absolute favorite season to start new rhythms. So join me today as we make some fall decor, cook, and have some fun with some fall traditions. So the first thing we're going to start out doing today is making some sourdough bread. And I hate to say it, but I have let my sourdough starter pretty much go. And so I'm trying to make things to build it back up. And yeah, it's my bread skills have not developed this year. I have been kind of lazy on the bread, and I have been buying sourdough bread from Aldi's. So this loaf did not turn out the greatest, and I didn't even get a shot of it. So just know that if you are not even new in the sourdough field, that sometimes it still doesn't work out. So the kids are still eating it, and that's really all that matters, but it just wasn't my best loaf. After that, we wanted to make some homemade Pop-Tarts. Now, this was my first time making these, but these turned out so delicious. Spoiler alert. But the way that I make these is, first off, we make what is basically called a pie crust. And I use my food processor for that. So I took about 1.5 cups of flour and then 4 tablespoons of butter. And we want the butter to be nice and cold straight from the fridge for this. And I just quartered it and put that into the food processor with the flour, and then let the kids push the buttons because they think that's the coolest thing ever. And then once that was pulsed and we had the butter kind of crumbled up in there, we went ahead and added 2 tablespoons of sugar. Normally I don't add sugar to my pie crusts because I'm usually doing a pie crust for like a chicken pot pie or something like that, and so it doesn't need sugar. But since this was for Pop-Tarts, I wanted to add a little bit of sugar in there. Now, the best way to make a pie crust is to put ice cold water in there. And so I don't measure my water, I just pour a little bit in there until everything clumps together. And I think whenever you see a pie crust recipe, they always say like a range of teaspoon amount, and so I don't even measure. I just pour that in there until it starts forming a dough. My kids love to help in the kitchen, so we had to take turns doing certain things in there. So basically I am just rolling out my pie crust, trying to make it into like rectangles, because I didn't want to have a lot of extra waste on the pie crust. So what we did was rolled it into a rectangle, and then I helped my son use I don't really know what that thing's called, a dough cutter. I'll put it in the link below. We used it for noodles as well, so we thought this would be cool to use for our pastries or our Pop-Tarts. So I cut them into 4 long rectangles, and then once those were done, we started filling it in with some Concord grape jelly, which is pretty cool because this came from our farm. We have Concord grapes, and I was able to have enough this year to can some jelly up. So I didn't get a whole lot of jars, but this was really nice. And then we sprinkled in some cinnamon, because cinnamon is like a staple for fall food. After that, we took some water, and I just put my finger in it and like went around the edges so that we could seal the pastry. And then once that was sealed, we popped them onto a pan and baked them. I think that I baked it at 375 for about 15 minutes. I would just set my timer for about 5 minutes less than what I think that it should be, and then check it. So I think that it was anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes on the timer in there. Like that. And then Micah, we need our cookie sheet. While that was baking, I made an icing, and I made it a little bit more runny than I really wanted, but it still turned out really good. But it's basically just powdered sugar. Now, if you run out of powdered sugar, the best way to make your own is if you have a really high power blender, you can throw in the exact amount that you need of regular sugar in there, and then just turn it on really high and it will make it into powdered sugar. Now, I had so many people arguing with me that this is not powdered sugar, but I mean, it worked exactly the same for my recipe. So if you want to put a little bit of cornstarch in there to make it stay powdery, like you want to store it, I guess, then you could do that. But literally it went the exact same way as regular powdered sugar. So I don't know, people get offended over their baked goods, I guess. So once they were done, we drizzled the icing over top of them, and I didn't let them cool too long because I wanted it warm. But look at that. Doesn't that not look great? I still want to make these again and maybe do a different icing on them. But these were so good. And one of these days, I promise I will get back to blogging and put this stuff on my blog so that you guys can have recipes and pictures and all that stuff. So until then, you get to enjoy them on my videos. Another thing that I love to do in the fall is sew. So when the garden is in full swing, I just don't really have time to sit down and sew a lot, but I absolutely love to sew. This fall we are having a Thanksgiving party where we are dressing up like pilgrims and Indians, and so I'm sewing my girls their very own pilgrim dresses, I guess. Honestly, these are versatile, like they could be worn today. I'm not going to like completely go back in time, but the patterns are really cute. So I get these patterns from Vintage Little Lady, and they have the cutest patterns. So I have been sewing. My grandmother taught me to sew when I was very young, and I basically just knew how to hand stitch a little bit. I knew how to operate a sewing machine, and that was about it. I had never actually sewn anything of real value, so I'm really excited to be able to do that now. And also to teach my daughter. So she is really into sewing and is learning how to operate the sewing machine and to make straight stitches, and she made this cute little bag herself. Okay, so I thought today I would share with you my fall makeup routine. I've showed my makeup routine before, but basically I just use lemongrass spa products, and I will add on to it as I need. So this is just a liquid foundation. So what I really like about this foundation is it's 90% organic, all natural, gluten-free. What is it, sweetie? It's in the color Pecan. I like to keep my makeup super minimal, natural for the most part throughout the week, and then really dress it up if we go on a date or go to church or something like that. The next thing I've really been liking are blush and lipsticks. Kids have been playing in it, so it looks really bad. But anyways, you just swipe up. This one is in the color boysenberry. I like it because it's a little bit darker for fall. And then you take your powder brush, your blush brush, and you just blend it in. They come in different colors. The one I really like for like spring and summer is the color, I think it's rose. Yes, the color rose. You can use them for lipsticks too, but I'm just going to use a little bit of castor oil on my lips to give them some shine. I don't really want a lot of color, so I just take a little bit of castor oil and swipe it on there. Keep them from being chapped, and I really just need to drink more water. And then after that, I use a brow pomade, and this is probably 3 or 4 years old. So, and I use this daily. I just fill in my brows. Alright, and then once that's done, I do some mascara. Every now and then I'll use this bronzer and highlighter, and it has a highlighter and a bronzer in it, like its name, and I will put some of that on. I'm not going to today. I'm just going to do my mascara. And I use the Honest Company mascara, and then I'll use the mascara too. Okay, so this is my fall look. It's not super different. I just use a little bit darker blush, and it's very natural. I like it. The lemongrass spa products are only sold in the US, so sorry to my friends in different countries, but I will leave the link down below to my distributor link, and as well as the link for this Honest mascara. It's found on Amazon. So all right, now let's go teach these kids. So for homeschool, we basically just do math and reading that are like mandatory for us, and then anything else is just a little extra. So I have 2 in school. I have a 2nd grader and a kindergartner, and then I have a 2-year-old and a baby. So our days look a little bit chaotic sometimes. So I bought a subscription on education.com, and I can print out stuff that I want the kids to work on. And my 2-year-old, you never know what she's going to want to do. So this day she wanted to color, and so I printed her off a page for her to color. And then the baby is either being held or crawling around, or sometimes it's his nap time during homeschool, and we will put him down for a nap. So this is kind of our routine. It's a little loud sometimes, and yeah, I don't really know how some people do it when it's super quiet, or they're able to do it without kids jumping around or bouncing. This is just how we do it. It's working because both of my older kids are learning to read. We are using the Teacher Child How to Read in 100 Easy Lessons, and I would highly recommend this. It is not very flashy, it's not very pretty, but it works. And both of my kids are reading and being able to recognize sounds and things like that using this. We also use the Secret Stories cards, and I'll put a link down below to my Amazon store for you guys to get all of my homeschool stuff. Another thing that my daughter and I like to do, which some of them are getting it anyways, but we like to read really good stories. And so right now we are reading the story from the Wing Feather Saga. This is the 4th book, and it's really good. I would highly recommend reading it. Care for them just as someone cared for me when I was abandoned in the Blackwood many years ago. So did you all come from God? Jana asked. Next up, I wanted to clean off our porch. I've done this several times lately. My kids just leave stuff around, and the cats have dug in the flower pots and use it as kitty litter. So we just need to clean it up, straighten it up, and make it fall ready. So you can see my pumpkins that I grew in the garden. They're really pretty out here. I like this subtle color. And I do plan on redoing this porch eventually. When we redid when we added on to our house, we had siding put up, and it was just going to be so expensive to be able to do that around the entire house and then also have them redo the porch. So we decided to wait on that because it wasn't something that was like necessary to be living in there. So eventually we will paint all of this and redo the porch railing and stuff like that. So I wanted to take down my wreath and redo a wreath. I made a lot of grapevine wreaths last year from my grapevines, and so all of this is going to be straight from the homestead. And I wanted to just put in some flowers from the farm. So this is goldenrod. I think I chose some Chinese trees that never die. And then I also picked some herbs from the garden. And I like to just do this on one side. You could do it on both sides or even all the way around the wreath, but I just like the simplicity of kind of setting it off center and putting it on there. And I wanted some fall colors, so what's more fall than straight from the homestead? We got yellows and greens and like a dark purple color from the Thai basil, and it turned out really pretty. And if it dies in a couple weeks, that's fine. We can just go out there and pick some more and do it all over again. It's completely fine. And brown is a fall color too, right? So another thing that I like to do is use the things in my house, on my house, around my house to decorate with. And this gorgeous piece of art was left to us from the previous owner. So they did leave some really nice things. And it was just on the other side of the porch. And I thought that this white wall where the bench is, that we could put this over top of it. So the bench is from my grandfather's house, and I inherited it whenever he passed. And so it's nice to be able to have a piece of furniture like that and display it, and then also like draw more attention to it with a piece of art. So I am not afraid to get up there and screw stuff in or build stuff. It may not look the greatest, but I don't care to do it. I also wanted to load our firewood rack and put a little bit of wood in there for it to, I don't know, I just think it looks really pretty. And then once we hit the first cold weather, it'll be ready. So here is what I have done on her outfit, and I will be showing you guys the rest of it in the next video. So be sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!